Hello and welcome to Newsclick. Today we have with us Mr. Apoorvanand, who's a professor of Hindi at Delhi University, and we're going to discuss with him what one expects or what one can anticipate will be not just the education policy of the government, but broadly what direction the government is headed in. Apoorvanand ji, welcome to Newsclick. Apoorvanand sahab, first of all, we've seen certain, like I was saying, what can we anticipate vis-a-vis education? Because we've seen certain hints, if one can call it. On the one hand, you have books by Dinanath Batra that have been published in Gujarati for school students of Gujarat. At the same time, you have Subramanian Swami, who's one of the leading ideologues of the BJP today, saying that, books by Romila Thapar and other such historians, who he calls left historians, he's saying should be burnt and destroyed. Do you then sense a kind of, because even in the previous NDA government, when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister, we saw a direct intervention by the RSS in school textbooks and in NCERT textbooks. Do you see something similar happening this time as well?
There is a vast difference between NDA 1 and this government. First, NDA 1 was not a BJP government. I would call this NDA government largely a BJP government. This time, RSS is firmly in saddle. So, RSS is prepared to wait. It's very confident that the changes that it wants or the direction it wants education to go in would eventually be attained. So, it's not in a rush or hurry like previous times. So, this is the difference we must understand and keep in mind. Second, if we are talking about policy, I don't see a comprehensive policy statement on behalf of the government. What they have said, if we go by the presidential address, and that's the only thing available with us, is that they are going to constitute a new education commission, like Kothari Commission, and they would go for massive online open courseware and similar things. But so far as NCERT is concerned and National School Curriculum Framework is concerned, this government has defended the current curriculum or the curriculum in practice in Rajya Sabha. So, this government is on record defending this curriculum framework. So, it becomes very difficult if you go by official records to anticipate what's going to be done. Now, there are petitions by organizations and people like Dinanath Batra and J.S. Rajput and Subramanian Swami, who say and who demand that the process of curriculum revision initiated by NCERT should be stopped and all focus groups should be dissolved, etc., etc., etc. But government has refrained from taking any decision. So, it becomes very difficult to say what it intends to do. But it's allowing persons like Subramanian Swami to say what they are saying, and which is unacceptable. In the heart of Delhi, if you say that books by eminent scholars like Romila Thapar and the others should be burned, it's in fact a call to burn Romila Thapar herself.
Absolutely.
So, it's a case of destruction of scholarship. I won't say left or right, that is how I see it. And this is the direction we are moving in. And to me, it's the most frightening prospect that we are moving towards a direction in which knowledge, education won't remain relevant or necessary even. And policy become irrelevant. You won't talk about policy.
That's an interesting point you make when you say that they won't talk about policy, because say for example when Narendra Modi decided to address the students of the country on Teachers' Day, it's interesting that in that speech there was not a mention of the teachers. In fact, I think he sort of took on the role of the teacher and started addressing students, but there are some very pressing problems facing our teachers today, not just in colleges but especially in schools in a very big way. One is of course the kind of contractual teaching that is happening. Most teachers are being taken on contractual basis. There's a big movement happening today by Shiksha Mitra in Uttar Pradesh as of now. These are issues that have not been addressed at all. I mean, the fact that even in colleges and universities you have so much contractual education which is happening, and the fact that in primary schools across the country you don't have many qualified teachers. So I think these very basic questions have somewhere been overlooked in what seemed to be just a lot of rhetoric by the Prime Minister.
You are absolutely right. Teachers' Day was an occasion when we should have talked about issues teachers are concerned with, and the fundamental thing is that the very agency of teacher is being destroyed. It has already been diluted. You have Shiksha Mitras and you have Gurujis and you have other. So the very institution of teacher has been weakened to a great extent.
Absolutely.
And it continues. In fact, what was very interesting, when it was decided that school children would be addressed by the Prime Minister on Teachers' Day, and there was some murmur of discomfiture or protest from teachers' community, the comments, if you go and peep in the comment section of newspapers, online edition of the newspapers, and on social media, the kind of abuses that were heaped on teachers.
Absolutely.
It was phenomenal. The hatred that was expressed in those comments. So it became a kind of celebration of anti-teacher feelings that we somehow keep hidden in deep within our hearts. So that was one. So we didn't talk about teachers. We didn't talk about teacher education. We didn't talk about the absolute lack of teacher education institutions in India, lack of facilities to teachers, and the tremendous pressure under which teachers operate, not only in schools but in universities. The insecurity which they keep suffering years together.
Absolutely.
So, Delhi University has a vacancy of 4,000, and there is a term called ad hoc teacher which has become permanent. So there are some ad hoc teachers who are permanently ad hoc. You can see how it destroys your self-esteem, how it destroys yourself as teacher. So this is what happened on Teachers' Day, and we accepted that the state can act as guardian. It can tell us what to do and what not to do, which again is a very serious thing.
And when you're saying that the state is acting as a guardian, I mean, I think it's, do you think it's actually going one step further than that as well? Because I mean, if you look at, coming back to the Teachers' Day speech, when Prime Minister Modi declared that he wants to address the students of the country on Teachers' Day, suddenly what happened is that the entire administration went out of their way to ensure that students stayed back in school to listen to that speech. Similarly, when the Swachh Bharat campaign was announced, the Delhi University Vice Chancellor suddenly says that he's going to introduce Swachh Bharat as part of the curriculum. Or Doordarshan deciding to air Mohan Bhagwat, RSS Chief's Mohan Bhagwat's speech on Doordarshan and air it live on Dussehra. Do you see this as a kind of a reflection that one saw during the emergency in terms of attitudes, where when people are asked to bend, they suddenly crawl?
During emergencies time, many people went silent. They decided not to speak. Newspapers published their editions with editorial spaces blank. So we saw that. This was a protest. Yes, you have all the powers, you won't allow us to speak. We want to speak. Not speaking is our right. But this time what we are doing? We are speaking.
We are appeasing.
And we are justifying.
Absolutely.
And we are trying to find something positive in whatever is being done to us. And we are shaming those who are critical and whose criticism is unalloyed, unadulterated. So what we are telling them? That your criticism is a negative thing and you don't see the positive message of what's being done. We are shaming them. We are shaming critics. This is happening in all public spaces. So this is a marked difference between emergency and this time. And we are not living in an emergency. It's free press, supposedly. It's a free society. Everyone can express his or her views, but we are not doing that. We are moving to other extreme. So this is for me a very, I would say it's a very horrible situation where we have surrendered or we have turned into obedient society. I would also call it a process of de-intellectualization of the nation or society. So we just don't care, and also a state of moral carelessness where we do things we don't believe in.
Absolutely.
I have seen people wielding brooms telling, oh, इतना ज़्यादा seriously इसको मत लीजिए. And this is a section of teachers or professors who are doing it. So this state of moral carelessness, this state of de-intellectualization is what frightens me more.
Finally, I mean, on the one hand, when we're saying that we're turning into a submissive society at one level, or that people have stopped expressing dissent, and there is a, like you said, there's a moral vacuum in what we're doing. But at the same time, one can't sort of surrender to this kind of an onslaught. And as somebody who's been involved with the progressive movement for so many years, what do you think is the way forward for us?
I think people are already making their own choices, taking decisions. Struggles are being fought. It's not that people are brooding and lamenting. So there are struggles, but they are not struggles in forms we recognize.
Absolutely.
And there are struggles which are not being led or owned by established political parties or establishment. So that is the difference. But the struggling masses of Kodaikanal or Chhattisgarh or Jharkhand or small places like Odisha and other areas, I think, or Maruti or Wazirpur, I think they hold this hope, and we can rely on this, and also on the individual strength of the individual. Because if I look at social media, which I think reflects the current mood, I don't agree with those who think that social media is a fringe of our society. I think social media reflects the current mood of youth and the society in general. There you see people speaking out. Absolutely. Very courageously. It's a very risky thing. People know that. There have been arrests, there have been detentions, punishments for a Facebook post. People are taking this risk, knowing fully well that if arrested, they are not going to be backed by any political party or organization. They are defenseless, independent individuals. And this strength of individual is what keeps your hope alive. And the final thing which is very reassuring for me is the return of humor. And if you again go to social media sites and individual Facebook pages, you would see it bursting with humor. And that is what assures me that we have not lost it. People are alive, people are reacting, and they are not afraid.
On that note, and a lighter positive note, and a note that assures resistance in the years to come as well, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining us.